Tom Cruise, yeah, I give him points for what he did in that. And do you know about the crap storm I got into with Tom Cruise?
I do, Drew.
Did I talk to you about that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Did I talk to you about it?
Look, it always seemed like a dangerous. You know, of course, after that Today Show interview that he did with Matt Lauer, I got, many calls about doing things in terms of, what do Scientologists think and why. And, it's a kind of scary area to go in.
Well, people shouldn't be afraid of anything. It's your right to explore and speak about these things. So that's ridiculous that we have to be fearful about speaking. Come on, guys. Come on. And so I tell you what I did on this show. I interviewed some Scientologists and some anti-Scientologists.
Yes.
And, I'm pretty, I'm persuaded that it helps some people. And I'm persuaded that there's some excesses there. But I actually was moderated, in my own opinion, by talking to both sides.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would just like to have heard Mr. Cruise at some point say, more explicitly, because he had such a negative impact when he made those statements that he did about postpartum depression and there is no such thing as psychiatric illness and so on, that if he had had more of an explicit, look, in the heat of the moment, it's how I was feeling, but really, folks,
Oh, but he doesn't believe that, to my understanding. He believes that, there's a museum out here of psychiatry in Los Angeles. You aware of this?
No.
Oh, Anderson, please get on the line, because Anderson's been through this. The museum you've been through, right? This is the Scientology museum.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's one of the most, it's the most ironic place I've ever been to in my entire life.
A Scientology museum.
It's a museum where you go to and you walk through and you see the horrors of what psychiatry has foisted on the human race, the human beings throughout time.
Really?
Yeah, it's Mengele and the whole thing about horrible things that.
It begins with us killing with people, mental health killing George Washington, I think.
Mental health killing George Washington.
Because they were bleeding him and whatnot.
Okay,
But anyway, there's an explicit.
The fact that we put leeches and bled people for everything that was wrong with them didn't really.
Right, but there was there's an explicit. And listen,
it's called. It doesn't even say anything about Scientology on the front. It's called the Museum of Death and Psychotherapy or Psychology.
Oh my God!
And at the end, you walk through, and it's a very elaborate and expensive, and they're using all these shocking images and stuff to shock you into fearing shock therapy and whatnot. That's where the irony comes in. And at the very end, there's some Scientologists standing there with little clipboards wanting to talk to you.
Oh.
You didn't know about this?
No, I didn't, and I'm so disheartened.
Oh, well, that was my own sense is that L. Ron Hubbard must have been treated at some point, and felt very badly about the treatment he got, and so made that a principle. And listen, and again, I always like taking a moderate view of these things. Medicine has done horrible things.
Absolutely.
We've done horrible, and some of it was in the name of organizations like the Nazis, and some of it was in the name of good health and well-meaning for people and just doing horrible things. We've done it.
Some of it was out of terrible urges that people have to hurt one another. Some of it was out of tremendous ignorance because for many, many years we knew almost nothing about mental health issues.
That's right. So the point is, I don't want to say, oh my God, these people are totally off their rocker. It's like, point well taken, but let's not go crazy with it. By the way, there's just along these same lines. There was some data published in the Times over the weekend, the New York Times, about methadone-related deaths being on the rise.
You know what? I have yet to read that. But
listen, does not surprise me. I see it all the time. Not only the method, wait till they get the Suboxone deaths, because that's something that's pandemic right now. And so here's some medication that is well-meaning physicians are providing to drug addicts who don't really truly understand how drug addicts behave, think they are doing something good, and are killing people. Now, I'm not going to say that people haven't died in treatment for chemical dependency. They do. But giving drug addicts drugs, I'm just saying it's only in the most desperate situations where it's worth the risk of it potentially being a fatal encounter. I'm just saying. Anyway, speaking of medication, I was going to tell you my quick story about Accutane, that medication for acne. I took Accutane as an adult. I've had acne since I was I had adult acne and whatnot. And it was fantastic in terms of what it does to your skin. You get actually addicted to if you've been dealing with your skin your whole life and all of a sudden it's a non-issue because of a pill you take once a day, it's a freedom.
Yeah.
And I was taking the medicine, and the dermatologist was, there's a low dose, there's no side effects. And I remember hearing all the issues of adolescents taking it and getting depression. So I was very aware of that. And I started getting back pain, and I started getting fatigue and difficulty concentrating. And it wasn't until I got in 3 car accidents in the course of about 2 weeks where I was doing things like putting my foot on the accelerator instead of the brake.
Oh, gee.
that I called the dermatologist and said either I need to see a neurologist or this medication.
Yeah.
He still denied it was the medication.
Yeah.
I stopped it and, it got better. And I still had some functional working memory difficulties for a couple years after that. Which
really?
Is, yes, my ability to...
Interesting, because the reports in adolescence are definitely depression-related, suicide-related. Actually,
yes.
Suicide without even having really overt symptoms of depression beforehand necessarily.
Right, I'm aware of that.
They're not cognitive.
We got to take a break. Gail Salt's in here. We are going to take calls. We're going to talk more with Gail. We'll talk more about the horrors of psychiatry after we get
the benefits of psychiatry.
Absolutely. 888-373-9502. We'll be right back.
Something on your mind? Call us at 888-DREW-502.
Welcome back to Dr. Drew Live. Our phone number is 888-373-9502. Gail Saltz is my guest. Gail, you familiar with the Ting-Tings?
Oh, not that familiar with the Ting-Tings.
Your daughters must know the Ting-Tings.
Actually, I think they do.
Okay. We tell them you now know.
I think that's the only place I've heard about the Ting-Tings.
All right. Well, that's good. This is them right now. We were talking about this museum. I had Anderson send you a link.
Okay.
Let me just read you some of the statements that come from this museum. No adult should be victimized by drugs or treatment that are not cures, and no government should support harm in the guise of help. All those with common sense and a passion for human rights make the truth about psychiatry abuses widely known and bring about reforms that are so badly needed.
Oy.
And it is a museum.
Oy.
It's a museum, and it is one of the principles of Scientology. This is their museum.
Yeah.
The museum is called Psychiatry and Industry of Death.
Here's the thing. Of course, everybody's entitled to believe what they want and have their own faith and live their own life. But when you start attacking other people for trying to make use of a branch of medicine for a disease they have, I have to take issue. I find it very disturbing that a very influential celebrity figure can tell women that there's no such thing as postpartum depression.
Well, let me tell you who was at the opening of this museum: Lisa Marie Presley, Priscilla Presley, Danny Masterson, Giovanni Ribisi, Leah Remini, Jenna Elfman, Marisa. There's a lot of people there.
I believe that. I also believe that probably some of those people would not, may believe, a good bit, but wouldn't necessarily condemn someone who, was suffering and needed treatment.